Okay. All right. So I'm hoping you can see a table full of food. What better way to start off a nutrition presentation, right? So everybody thumbs up on that one, looking good. That's the best part of this profession is that we got so much to work with when it comes to photos and images and colors and definitely people that get into our business are people that really just have this passion for food and just using nutrition as the basis for foundation of health and wellness. So I'm Stephanie Petrosky. I'm going to be facilitating for us today. We have some guest speakers and members of our faculty, as well as one of our top students who's going to talk to you a little bit about the experiences in our graduate nutrition program. But just to kind of begin, I'll give a little bit of orientation to what we do. We appreciate Emilio and Niima. Did I say it? Say it for me, your name?
Naima.
Naima. Okay, I got the two vowels
Yes.
reversed. So Naima, very beautiful name.
Thank you.
So I, appreciate the opportunity. This is definitely an opportunity we love to take whenever we get a chance to talk to interested students or just more and more promote nutrition as a pathway in the health professions in particular, based in the foundation of science. We really do try to use the body, the biology, just creativity, marketing, and just good critical thinking and common sense to help with health promotion. What you're seeing before you, the statement, nutrition is the foundation of health and wellness, is actually a department philosophy that my team kind of worked on with us to adopt as the basis for our programs, what we're trying to accomplish here at NSU and in the greater community throughout Broward area. So for the workshop today, kind of narrowed it down to a few objectives, primarily thinking that those of you, especially since I chatted with a couple of you before the program started today, kind of understanding a lot of you are in that upperclassman year, thinking about graduation, really thinking about career paths. So we're going to try to address that a little bit today and looking perhaps at examples of career paths. So I've invited three very dynamic and diverse members of our faculty to tell you a little bit about some of their career paths, because everybody has a unique story to profession. We all get involved in nutrition and dietetics from a personal story, it tends to be, and then we kind of go down different routes as we have opportunities that come up, as well as even in our education and training, we start to develop networks and relationships with people that allow us the opportunity to practice in their areas and realm. We're also going to talk a little bit about what students gain from our program and hear a little bit from a very successful member of our student body right now, and then see if you have any particular questions that we didn't cover that are really of interest for you. So I wanted to mention that the College of Osteopathic Medicine, and formally we were renamed last year Dr. Kiran C. Patel College of Osteopathic Medicine, is home to a nice portfolio of many graduate programs. We started out with a Master in Public Health many, many years ago with the vision that improving the health and welfare of communities will actually trickle down to individual health and try to deal with some of the health adversities that we're facing as a nation. But soon thereafter, we started with a Master of Science in Biomedical Informatics. We've added a Master of Science in Medical Education that works to help help those that are in the health professions actually learn a little bit more about the pedagogy and the quality of education experiences. And we also had a Master's of Emergency Management, which has actually been very popular recently with all the COVID emergency. And the fifth program in the portfolio is the Master of Science in Nutrition, fairly new to the group, just actually was launched in 2015. And within all those graduate programs, we also have some graduate certificates that can also be an option for somebody who's not quite sure where they want to go and just want to put in a small investment with maybe a graduate certificate, or even those that are working in the profession add on to that. So that's kind of the basis of where we are. And you know, I'm going to focus the rest of the presentation today on nutrition in the graduate program. And I heard from a few of you in kind of talking a little bit ahead of time, but I'd like to see if you guys could jump in here and just kind of answer this question. So I had Vicky, you mentioned a little bit about helping your community, so in your personal interest. Why study nutrition? Tell me what you think would be a good answer to that question.
I feel that it's important to study nutrition because, like you said, nutrition is the foundation to health and wellness. Exercise is extremely important, but we as humans eat like all day. So depending on what you're putting in your body can really make a difference because you are what you eat. So I think a lot of cultural backgrounds, like Florida being very diverse, a lot of cultures don't understand that some traditional ingredients aren't as healthy than others. And some cultures also don't see obesity necessarily as a bad thing due to their perception of it. So I feel like spreading the word, like getting a understanding of what nutrition is and how to impact your families can really make a difference in someone's life. And then you would add on the exercise to it as well.
All right, so very global approach, health promotion, but I like that you're talking about education because that is definitely a strength of the profession, trying to take all that complicated science and put it into common sense. How do we do that? How about Saina? Did you want to add something to that question, or that answer to that question?
Honestly, no. I think she covered it really well, to be honest.
Excellent. Okay. All right. And I think we still just have Gabriella. You still on? Would you like to add something? Especially since you're just embarking on a new program. You still
Yes,
here?
I actually agree with everything that she said. I think that nutrition is the basis for our health and that it's the easiest way that we can take care of ourselves every single day and like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's really important to educate the community because there's so much information out there that everyone's so confused. And by studying nutrition, we can help everyone. And as she said, like make it easier for everyone to understand how to take care of their bodies and their health.
Excellent. Good, good. You guys definitely got a good basis going there. A lot of times I think of this as, you know, is there an app for that when it comes to nutrition? And there's a lot of experts out there who count their macros and, you know, follow the gluten-free whatever or the keto. But there, when you start to really get involved in the study of nutrition, it's kind of like this picture. It looks nice and shiny on the outside, but once you start taking a bite and getting down into the core of it, it actually is a lot of work to eat an apple perfectly. So healthy for you, good information, but it isn't for everybody. And I think it's important to think about those success factors as well when you're going into this. We typically attract people to our profession based on those that love science, but also love people. So I was really excited to hear one of you mentioned you're also minoring in psychology, which actually, fun fact, a lot of the people in our business actually start off as psych majors. That was me, I did. And then we kind of, you know, figure out along the way that we need something a little bit more, you know, profitable or tangible, because psychology sometimes is a very abstract specialization, but we love that connection to human thought, behavior, and motives that go into the profession. So let me see if I can get my slide to move. So you guys hit a lot of the topics. We think about why studying nutrition, because if we look around in terms of what the most critical areas of health, obviously in health science, and, you know, you're kind of thinking about addressing it, that there's purpose, that there's meaning. So we're seeing a lot of trends in the vocation of health sciences and professions within that area. primarily because we're seeing these critical health areas that are really eating up, millions of dollars, and morbidity and quality of life issues that start to happen. So I applaud you guys for, having the passion to think about it. Just as a broad overview before we hear from our speakers, I wanted to share kind of an overview slide that shows some pictures and some other thoughts about nutrition. While we are, professionals within, a licensed health profession called registered dietitian nutritionist, that's not the only way that you can live your passion out with nutrition. We believe that, a good quality education can lead you down many pathways, and a lot of that will come from your own individual interests. So you may be involved in, like you mentioned already, education. Sports nutrition and corporate wellness is a really strong and growing area. Business, and just think about what's going on right now with the COVID emergency and delivery of food and marketing and repurposing restaurants, and some of the things that have had to all come out of emergency management is a business impact, and it has to do with food. Just a lot of really interesting things. Segue, you guys said it right, that we all have to eat, we all have food in common. So even in the university setting, a PhD in nutrition, if you like to go down the road of research, those that like to use scientific inquiry and really explore the reasons why, things happen, like why does a banana turn brown when you cut it open? There is a huge, long process to explain that. And that happens on the inside of our bodies too when we're exposed to oxygen. So, these are the things that we use to leverage our health promotion policies. So I'm going to turn it over to some colleagues of mine that are joining us today. All the way from Mexico, my friend Inouye Escobar recently just joined our adjunct faculty. She's really from the Miami area, but she's hiding out from COVID with her son and her family in Mexico. But I wanted to point out that Inouye's almost a doctorate. She's a colleague of mine from our doctorate program, and I thought this was really cool to put your initials there, DCN, all but dissertation, because you're that close. So congratulations on your hard work. And if you could share a little bit about your career, and the highlights of how did you get started, and what are some of the interesting jobs and experiences you've had along the way. So Inouye, go ahead.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you for putting my initials there. Yes, getting closer by the minute. My career path is perhaps a little bit unique, but not that unique. We have a lot of second career students in nutrition. They started something else, and they later on became dietitians. That was my case. I did an undergrad in hospitality and tourism, and I was working on a cruise ship. And I became very interested in actually how the people ate, and I decided to pursue my master's in nutrition. Once I completed that, most of my career path has been divided in three sections. One is clinical. I do love clinical with passion, although I don't see many patients anymore. I do get to teach about clinical. I also love education, so I've been instructor at Miami-Dade, and now I have to thank you for this opportunity of teaching at a different level. But I'm also an internship director, and I think what was very unique about that is that I had the opportunity to actually create the program, like you have created many programs for NOVA, and that was a very rewarding, and is a very rewarding experience. And last, my other branch is marketing. And I started marketing and clinical from the moment that I graduated. With marketing, and this is what I love about nutrition, it's just so many opportunities that you just have to find what you're truly passionate about. And marketing is one thing I love. I've been a spokesperson for national companies, including Milk Prep, which is the milk, Got Milk campaign, now called Milk Life. Also done Colgate and pasta. as a food product. And in June, I have a surprise coming up. I'll continue to be spokesperson, but for a specific organization. And that is a lot of fun. That's one of the things that I think everybody like sees and likes, and it's actually is really fun to do segments on TV about cooking healthy recipes. And for me, what is even most important is because you can reach to a large audience really quick. And also in the past year, I've seen the changes into how important now is to do social media to reach people as well. And it's a lot to learn, but it's a lot of fun. And a lot of I do have a lot of formal work. Sorry, there's like a bee or something here. there's, there's been a lot of like formal education. I mean, obtaining a doctorate is very formal, or going through your grad school, master's degree, and whatever you're doing. But also, to me, I had to do a lot of informal training. Little certificates here and there, webinars that are offered for free or sometimes for a fee, because I had my goals clear and I wanted to reach different skill sets. But I can tell you, it's been a lot of fun to be a dietitian.
Yeah. So, and you could, you've definitely got a lot of recognition. You didn't mention that you're also holding a leadership role with the South Florida Academy. So your peers recognize your passion and your interest in, helping to move our profession forward and get that nutrition message out. But I knew of your name, many years ago from just your communication and all the activities that you're doing with being a spokesperson. So I can't wait till the June announcement. I'll be really excited to hear what that is. Let me thank you so much. Let me do a quick switch with Dr. Inouye Escobar. Visited us just for a few minutes today. She actually has to leave here to take off for class, but I just wanted to introduce her. She has been a monumental in getting our undergraduate program up and running. She's also a dietitian, and Dr. Escobar, I know you've got to get going, but maybe you could just say hello. And what would you give our students on the call today for words of advice about pursuing a career in nutrition and dietetics?
Hello, everyone. I don't see myself doing anything else but dietetics. It took me a little bit of time to figure out that that's what I wanted to do. When I first started college, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go with it. And I took an elective course. It completely changed my life, led to a master's degree and a PhD in nutrition, and then pursued my dietetic internship so I could become a registered dietitian. But I don't think there's a more rewarding and more diverse job that you can possibly have, just because of the different avenues you can take with this career. I thought for sure that I was gonna be in research. That's what I thought I was going to do. After you pursue your master's and your PhD and you work on your dissertation and thesis projects. And I have been in academia for 5 years, actually 6 now. And I wouldn't change it. Working one-on-one with students in class, and now even online, thanks to the transition, it's probably the most rewarding part of my job, is to have that interaction with students and help prepare you for your future careers and what is it that is out there. Because I do have students currently in my courses that are planning to be doctor of osteopathic medicines. I have students that plan on pursuing dentistry, optometry, all sorts of other health related professions, but they're all pursuing the bachelor just because they want to help their patients in the long run to be healthier. So I think you're all here for absolutely the right reasons, like you mentioned in your introductions, why are you planning on pursuing the master's degree. And I wish you all good luck. It was very nice meeting you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you around and interacting with you. But
okay. Thank you, Inouye.
absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good
afternoon.
Everyone. Bye.
Okay, so next up, let's hear about some additional careers. Dr. Nadine McCarty. is the new kid on our block. She joined our full-time faculty in the fall, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her background and career. So Dr. McCarty, please take it away.
Hi, how's everyone doing? I am the new kid on the block, but it feels like already forever.
A lot has happened in 6 months.
I know. I'm hearing everyone that kind of realized nutrition a little later. I was a little bit different, where I kind of realized it when I was in high school and did the campus tour of one of the colleges I visited, and they were talking about their new program, kind of like NSU now. They have a new program, and I just fell in love with the faculty and just knew I wanted nutrition at that point. I knew I wanted to go to the health field. I was debating if I wanted to go into medicine, but I realized that my passion was more nutrition, because it is helping people in basically leading a healthy lifestyle. So I did nutrition for my bachelor's, and I knew from that point that I wanted to be a registered dietitian and not only just have a nutrition. So then I pursued a coordinated program, had a master's degree, and obtained my registered dietitian credential. And then again, I fell in love with clinical during my internship. And so my first job was a clinical dietitian, which I think was the best job that you can start out with, because I worked in a big hospital setting. So I got so much exposure to different populations and different conditions where you would not see anywhere else. And I think that year helped shape up my knowledge and who I am, and kind of gave me a really, really, really strong base in that aspect. I love the ICU a lot. Anything related to some math in there, doing all the calculations with the tube feeding and CPN, which I see now on groups with all the COVID-19 now happening. All the ICU dietitians are facing some not problems, but like they're asking for advice and what supplements they should give and things like that. And then after that, I was teaching kind of like part-time on the side as an adjunct. And then a full-time position opened and they asked me to join. So I'm like, sure, let me try academia and kind of relay the knowledge of all the field work I was doing to the students and help start a program. And education has always been in my blood per se. So we did that, and I was teaching. I had my private practice where I was helping people kind of lead healthier lifestyles. And then I was setting up a coordinated program at that time. And there I realized that, especially when you're in academia, I needed more, and I needed to achieve more and get more in order to portray that to my students. And especially if I want to be involved in more research. I was involved in some research, but again, I felt that I needed more expertise. So that pushed me to get my PhD in nutrition and just be involved in more research, more teaching, and again, more community projects and things like that. And that's a nice thing I think about nutrition, where it's not like you're just doing the same thing every day. You can, when you see and you're talking to all of us, it's like we do a little bit of this, but this also includes something else. So it's a variety of things, and that keeps us very happy, and just we kind of spread our wings on what things we like. And then after that, I went back and had a management position in clinical. And then I was still teaching. And then again, I went back full-time to teaching. I felt that teaching is more my calling, and I can be involved. I think now my direction is more research as well. I want to be involved in more research, more education, just teaching the future generation dietitians of what they can be, how they can be, and kind of motivate other individuals, and just, I guess, giving all that passion that I have to everyone. And it's been great so far, and I think this is the path I chose, and I don't regret it at all. I'm very happy. So and I hope my students get that passion when I teach. So
yeah, I think you combined with Inouye, that you kind of just like look at that next thing, that next opportunity, and really whatever your personal interest is, you can find a way to use nutrition in your profession. So kind of like wrapping it all up with our career stories. Thank you, Dr. McCarty. We'll move on to Dr. Gordon, who comes to us from an interest in health and exercise science. So Dr. Gordon, are you still with us? I think I've lost. Oh, there you are. You got the shark today.
I do, yes,
All
yes.
right. So what's your story?
Yep. Hello, everyone. And similar to Dr. Skripa, it was probably that elective nutrition course in my undergrad that really sparked my interest in nutrition. At the same time, I actually had a roommate that was doing all types of nutrition and counseling without any type of credential. And it's like, well, this doesn't seem right. So I did my research and found out, oh, well, actually, you have to do the registered dietitian pathway to really get the proper education and to be able to become licensed and registered. So it's really the premier credential, if you would. So I went that path, have an undergrad dietetics and nutrition. I was fortunate where we had the coordinated undergraduate program at the same time. So once you finish with a bachelor's degree, you could take the national exam. And so I passed, went into clinical dietetics like Dr. McCarty. And even though it's not really my preference, I have to say I learned a lot from that. And it actually spurred me toward my master's degree in exercise science and wellness. Because what I observed in a clinical setting was most people were there because of poor food choices and lack of physical activity, right? So I did my master's degree, exercise science wellness, and quickly moved into our hospital-based fitness center. So it's interesting how your passion can drive your education, and then your education drives the career. So I went into a hospital-based fitness center, did everything: cardiac rehab, pulmonary rehab, cancer recovery, weight management for children and adults. And as I was there, I was actually offered a teaching position at a community college, and I taught wellness classes. So total wellness, introduction to healthy living, and it's all fitness, nutrition, stress management. It's like, this is wonderful. And I really enjoyed doing that. So again, the career guided the education. So I went back to school and received my doctorate in higher education. And at the time thought maybe I would go into more of the management scenario. But then this position opened up at NSU that was primarily sports for our NSU Sharks, and a wellness position for the faculty, staff, and the students. And again, I wasn't really teaching when I came to NSU. And so, like, your dream job is what I walked into. And, over the years, it's changed just a little bit. Now I'm in more of a faculty position, still involved in, the sports and the athletes, and now teaching in both our graduate and undergraduate nutrition programs. And, if I had to give advice, it's, what are you passionate about? And then, you take that education route, and your education route is going to open the door for the career, and I guess basically that's my story. Thank you.
I remember, Dr. Gordon, thanks for sharing. I remember you've also done a lot of media work, especially when you were at the wellness center there with Memorial for many years. And that takes a lot of credibility to what you're doing, and have that opportunity. But the media, and I know Inouye will probably chime in when you get that call from the media that want a statement about what's the ketogenic diet really like. It's pretty stressful putting all that together. So we did actually turn the COVID scenario into some nice benefits, and I hope that Cassie will talk a little bit about how we made lemonade out of lemons when we had to pull our students out of rotation. But we use the media platforms to try to keep communicating. So Inouye, anything else about media and any training that you do to be that spokesperson? How do you develop that skill?
think I was a kid actress. That's where it started. But I've been just taking a lot of informal media trainings. Like right now, I'm really learning about Instagram, and even the scheduling app later will teach you a lot of like things that you need to know. But also, I'm lucky enough now that brands invite me to their media trainings that they have, and I have always worked for brands, so the training has just come to me. But if
Once you get a reputation, huh? Probably
yeah,
goes good.
yeah, and it's yeah, like you'll have your producers, and they will want you to do well, and they'll sit with you and work with you. But Natalie Carabeo and I actually have put together an Instagram to help dietitians to start getting training on media. The handle is this is not an advertisement; it's a free service. It's at Evolving Dietitians, and we try to educate dietitians that way. But we hold also the Academy of Nutrition, the South Florida Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics recently put out a training, and the recording for that will be available about marketing.
It's an interesting avenue, and I have to say it's not for everybody. And I like the way you started off the answer, which was you kind of have to go into acting career, acting lessons to put all that together, and you got to get a good makeup artist, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So thank you. Let me move on. In the sake of time, we'll keep going. So just to really sum all that up, and I'm hoping students that are listening in on this call will start to recognize themes within our stories. These are really the tangible skills, a very wide variety, just like a beautiful salad, of all the things that it takes to be successful in the career. But not everything is required. And certain things are going to be emphasized, and others will be, more of an interest to you on a personal level. But Dr. McCarty mentioned numbers. So we love the calculation. We love the numbers. We're measuring everything on a regular basis. There's a lot of technical skills involved in jargon and just what we talked about in terms of public speaking, as well as using technology to do our teaching. And the more and more we're educating, the more and more we're trying to communicate messages. We have to really vary our communication styles. And really a lot goes on in our day-to-day job. So here's some just, other skills to kind of think about if seems like a good fit to you. When you break down those that are on the professional level, this is kind of the way those distributions look, where most people kind of start out in clinical practice. It's just naturally where the bigger group is, but we are also starting to see some major development in community, food services, and the business sectors that are starting to grow, in particular education and research. You can teach at the community college level with just a master's degree. You can actually teach in public education if you were like health science and wanted to go into that route, as well as maybe consulting for companies for product specialization. So I think you've all heard that the career path really is lined with just the commitment to lifelong learning and really continuing to promote advanced credentials. So the fact you're looking into graduate studies is a very good thing for you to think about the next step for you. I really just wanted to spend a few minutes on the degree program a little bit, and then we'll wrap it up with some information from our student and give you time to get some questions addressed. So this is kind of where this slide's a little bit out of date. They just published the 2019 data, and I haven't updated the slide, but this is what we're seeing in terms of opportunities for growth and income with an advanced degree, and depending on which sector. If you even, for example, went into a management career, that is definitely a six-figure potential once you spend a couple of years. Right now, the minimum degree for entry level is still at a bachelor's degree, except that the profession is moving to an entry-level master's degree. At 2024, that will be the entry requirement. So this is in a state of flux, still a much higher average of interest in job outlook from the U.S. labor statistics, showing that nutrition is a really great place to focus yourself. Just a quick overview. This is actually the programs that we have at NSU, but there are other ways for graduate nutrition to serve individuals, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the program in general at the moment. So in our program mission, we just worked as a faculty to kind of update this. As I mentioned at the beginning of the call, we started our degree online in 2015. It was meant to really be a supplement to those seeking health profession education. So we've had a little bit of revision to our mission, and this is what, it's currently, I think, the best compilation of all our interests, of really just that foundation of health and wellness, and that we strive to really make this a core value in all that we're doing, and use the knowledge and the research and the skills that we have within our program to empower our students to have that ripple effect and go out and do things much greater than we've ever imagined that we could do. Our mission really, and we love this, statement, so we go back over it thinking maybe we need to revise it, but we just love that whole premise of a cadre of interprofessional leaders, for that global society that really start to integrate and promote the role of nutrition in a very dynamic, changing society. Many of the things that you all have said in your opening comments. So here's our program outcomes, really trying to make sure that people understand, what our program is preparing you to do. In general, the basis of our graduate nutrition program is really kind of formulating a lot of critical thinking. So we incorporate experiential learning. We really want our students to think about advocacy positions. So not just thinking it's good for you, but thinking it's good for everybody, using information to make informed decision and policies. Mentioning social influence a lot, the cultural impact, especially in our community in South Florida, looking at how our community impacts, and then of course promoting health and well-being. So that's basically the outcomes that we're striving, and we do that through a variety of ways within our program content. This is currently revised, and I want to just highlight to all of you, if you go to our website today, you will notice that the degree map is from the fall of 2019. It has not been updated yet. We're in the process of waiting for those changes. But we do effectively have a streamlined approach to the master's, and this is actually a really good opportunity for somebody who's maybe in the transition from medical school to just take a one-year master's program. The degree is now going to be a 30-credit master's. We still do also offer concentrations in sports nutrition, functional, and nutrition and population health, or a community basis. We also can give a culminating project for you, which allows you to put all this together. And within the degree, if anybody's interested, and a few of you have mentioned going further into obtaining credentials as a registered dietitian, that would be a concentration pathway within that program. I'll give you some breakdown of the details here. Just want to, kind of let you know there's 7 core classes now within the core degree. And in addition to that, that gives the student an opportunity to take a minimum of 3 electives. Or if you wanted a concentration, then there would be additional courses just to give you a little bit more emphasis in those areas that we currently have. The professional practice pathway is the longest. The reason the credits are so high is because it's to the accreditation standards and by the American, the Accreditation Council for Education in Nutrition and Dietetics, which is called ASCEND. They are the only pathway that allows individuals to be qualified to take the registered dietitian exam. Also, our bachelor's program's been recently accredited for dietetic technician, so that'll be an up and coming, it's like the paraprofessional partnership between the RD and the diet technician. But the credits are a little bit higher because we also give 1,200 hours of supervised training within the program. And just kind of an overview of our students, it isn't just nutrition is so widely of interest to everybody, and these are actually some of the different avenues that we've had students come from. So medical residents or students that are on their way out to residency that are currently in osteopathic DO program with us. We've had nurse practitioners, we have a doctor of pharmacy. We've had somebody who is a research specialist at the University of Miami. Of course, we attract a lot of interest from the fitness industry, and we've had a few physicians that graduate from our program because they have benefited from the online degree and supplementing their profession and trying to help in terms of making healthier patients. So I want to just let Dr. McCarty, who's kind of leading our research, talk a little bit at some of the research things that are going on in our department. Dr. McCarty?
I forgot I was on mute. All right, so for research, and it was really just new, like last week we got our first grant since I've been at NSU, and that was a quality of life grant called Recipes of Health. And basically through that grant with 2 community partners, Baptist Health and Common Threads, we will be using certain kitchen carts in order to help individuals of the community that have chronic disease or just want to improve their overall health, just to teach them about healthy cooking habits and healthy eating practices. So that's the first thing that should start in the fall. Our other project that we have was Kitchen a la carte, and that is basically we're trying to focus on college students, and specifically we're going to start with NSU and trying to incorporate that in a curriculum, because we know that college students, they come to campus, they're living on campus, they've been living with their parents, and they probably don't know how to prepare food. They just eat out all the time, budget issues, and they gain weight. So we want to work on trying to teach college students on just how they can really do basic cooking and that's healthy at the same time. We have another program called the Fit 5 program that actually Dr. Gordon is involved with the School of Nursing. And with that, that's already started, where students were volunteering to deliver nutrition and exercise classes. And then our final research project that is with the geriatric workforce at NSU. And basically that's interprofessional health promotion. And what they're doing is they're trying to teach nutrition for oral health and more education in that field. So it's a community-oriented grant in the geriatric population.
Okay, so putting a lot of what we say into action, especially as a young faculty, it's exciting to see that our research is starting to take foot, and congratulations to Dr. McCarty for receiving that Quality of Life grant. That's a competitive grant, and only 7 teams in the NSU community received that, and we have to live up to that reputation and put some of that into action. So to our student that's listening on the line, you know, there's a project coming your way, I'm sure. Okay, so just to kind of wrap up, those that are leaving our program, if they're not going in the professional round, these are some of the outcomes that we're tracking of areas where they end up practicing. So again, an affirmation of a wide variety of opportunities with a degree. So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Cassie. Here's one of the questions that always comes up, you know, especially working with our fabulous partners in the Career Services Department. Mr. Emilio and his team do a great job of really tailoring to our NSU community and, you know, thinking about those that are interested. So you've heard a lot from us. You would love, I'm sure, to hear about what's going on in the real world out there. So I'm going to invite Miss Cassie Evans. These are some pictures. She sent me a few today and said, pick whichever one you want. So I put them all up there. Just to give you some snapshots of some of the learning experiences that she's had. So Cassie, can you start off by just sharing a little bit about what attracted you into this program, especially since you already had a degree in exercise science, and then maybe just some quick highlights on what you really feel like you're getting out of the program. So don't forget to unmute yourself too.
Okay. So as she mentioned, my name is Cassie and I'm in the graduate nutrition program. I did changed my mind a lot too as an undergrad. So I think my very first major ever was marine biology, and then like broadcast journalism. And then I settled on exercise science. And it was in the last year of my exercise science program that I realized through a sports nutrition class that I took, and also a research methods class that I took, that I was like, wow, like I am really interested in nutrition. And I felt like it was definitely the missing piece when I was, about to graduate. I thought there's so much more about nutrition that I want to know, that I feel that I didn't get in my degree. And then I learned that, nutrition had that online sports nutrition program, which was something that I was really leaning towards. And then also learned about the registered dietitian, did a little bit of research, started learning about having to go to an accredited school. I had a really amazing experience as an undergraduate at Nova, coming from, I did a year at USF prior to finishing my degree at Nova, and coming from a school where we had probably, 150 kids in one class, to a school where I had 20 kids in a class, was really nice, because it gives you the opportunity to get a lot of that one-on-one attention. So I had learned that Nova was in the process of getting their accreditation. And so I kind of weighed out my options, which were to start the sports nutrition concentration at Nova and end up possibly, which I ended up doing, an extra 2 semesters, or applying to FIU, possibly driving to Miami every day and going to an accredited school in Miami. And because I had such a fabulous experience at Nova, I decided to take that leap of faith and just kind of start with my sports concentration. And I guess all the stars aligned, because they got the accreditation. And now, I'm on my path to becoming a registered dietitian. And so very similar, I guess, to my experience in undergraduate. I'm so grateful to be a student at Nova, just because, one, I think the education is definitely top notch, but there's experiences that I'm getting that I know, just speaking with some other students that are either already dietitians or, in the process of doing the same thing that I'm doing at another school, like they don't get the same opportunities that we get. And so I think that's one of the things that is absolutely unique and incredible about Nova. Also the opportunity of having that smaller class set and getting that one-on-one interaction with your professors, as well as being able to work with other students, I think is something that's going to definitely be a helpful learning experience when I get into the real world and have to, work interactively with a lot of different people, a lot of that interprofessional collaboration. And then I also just think that, and this, if I understand correctly, is probably partly because it's the new Ascend coordinated program, but there is a little bit of leeway to kind of pursue what you really like in nutrition. So like, they kind of, when we were picking our community sites, they ask you like, well, what part of community do you think you're interested in? And there were a lot of different sites. And I think that, our professors do a really great job at kind of pairing us up with the site that they think we would fit best at. And so it's not just kind of like a name on a paper and you have to go there. So I loved that. And the combined program is something that I think is huge, because I was just watching everybody posting information about match day, which I think was not too long ago. And the match statistics aren't that great. So to be able to be in a program where not only am I guaranteed to get my master's, but I'm also guaranteed to get my internship hours that will, allow me to sit for that exam as soon as I graduate is huge. It's one less thing that I have to worry about. And now I can really focus on my studies and trying to figure out, I thought I had it all nailed down. I was like, okay, I'm going to major in nutrition. This is great. I know what I want to do. And then I started this program and I realized that there are so many different avenues of nutrition that you can go in that I'm like, oh, now I have to narrow it down a little bit more. But I'm still very passionate, obviously, about exercise, fitness, health, and wellness. And I've learned through my community internship that I have a real passion for community as well. And so I guess a few of the highlights of the program for me so far, definitely the white coat ceremony. I think that was really neat. Just kind of being able to have my family be there and see in that whole tradition and talking about, what we strive to be as future dietitians, but then also these experiential learning experiences that I've had as a result of this program. So in the top, I think, well, it's my left, maybe you're right. So it looks like I'm in a kitchen and there's a bunch of kale to the side. So that is from my internship this semester, the first half before the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I was learning about doing kitchen demos and actually having them broadcast live on Facebook. And so that's been a whole different ball game, and learning, having a very small experience in doing things online right before the pandemic actually did help me, because as Stephanie mentioned, we were able to do, myself and a fellow student did a webinar for the Alumni Association about nutrition during COVID-19. And so having a little bit of experience prior to this did make me feel a little bit more comfortable when I had to do the webinar. The other picture, obviously with the white coats, is the white coat ceremony. To the right, where I'm standing in front of a poster. So I actually really enjoy the research sector as well. That's in undergrad. That's one of the things that I was involved with a lot. And so this was a poster that I presented at the Florida Academy of Dietetics. It was the Florida conference, not the national conference. And this was different than other poster presentations I've done before, because there was this much smaller group. And then at the very bottom is also from this semester, and that was a group education that I had the opportunity to give to the rowing team at 7:30 in the morning. So if you are thinking about sports nutrition, know that it's a very early morning start, which is fine because I'm a morning person. But what I've noticed is that I do love that education piece. And so a lot of nutrition is kind of just giving people general education about it, because there is so much misinformation out there. And so, I think that somehow that will be involved in my future. Right now, I'm not quite sure how, but I think that, just being able to provide whoever your audience is with, quality, research-backed nutrition information to help them make better decisions in their life for their health and their wellness is definitely something that I think is going to be the foundation of who I will be as a future dietitian.
Yeah, and I can say who you will be changes every time you take a new class. So I was going to question you about that picture there, Cassie, because you said you're studying very hard, and it really doesn't look like you're studying very hard. That looks like a party picture, but I think you were making turmeric shots with the rowing team or something.
So after that session, we passed out the clementines, and then Dr. Gordon makes a turmeric, lemon, ginger shot, and it has a lot of different things in it that are great, obviously, for recovery and inflammation. And so we were getting everybody to try it. And let me tell you, they really woke up with because they were, they're a little sleepy sometimes that first thing in the morning. But when we started passing out the food, that definitely got everybody's attention. And it's true. Everybody eats. Everybody loves food,
there's nothing better than passing out the food. So I want to give some time. I see we're just right at 2 o'clock, and I want to be mindful of the time constraints. So that's the problem with stories. We just go on and on. I'm sorry about that, Emilio. But I'd like to give an opportunity to the students who called in.
Stories.
To the students who've called in, if you guys have any particular questions that our panel here today can answer for you, we'd be glad to see if we can address your questions now. Vicki, are you good? Good to go?
Oh, okay. So I have a couple questions actually. So the program is still online as of today, correct?
Okay, so both components are, the main degree is online, and the component for the professional practice pathway, because you did mention that you were interested in that, is a benefit of mixture of online and on-ground classes. So we believe that in the professional practice concentration, we cannot emulate and train and help you prepare for glamour shots and 7:30 rowing club instructions without really working with our faculty. So we have designed the curriculum so that about 35% or so of your credit hours are going to be on ground, either with us at campus or in your practicum setting. So that would be something to think about. We definitely want to attract students to the local campus. But the efficiency part is a lot of the education is delivered through online. Yes.
And can I just add one quick thing? So I don't know if you're like me, but I was very apprehensive about a program online because I just thought like online classes. But the way that they have their online classes set up is very interactive. It's a live lecture, very similar to this. So you get that feeling of like you're in an actual classroom. They can call on you. You can raise your hand. And so for somebody that was very skeptical, I am completely in love with their online program and don't feel that I have missed out on anything with some of my classes being, through Zoom or GoToTraining. It's very similar to this, and you do have to pay attention. So that's what I try to explain to people sometimes.
Yeah, because we know when you're not paying attention, we'll call on you.
Yes, they do. So it's just like being in class.
Okay. And I know, Cassie, you said that when you switched over from exercise sports science to your master's in nutrition, you took 2 extra semesters. Within those 2 extra semesters, did you complete all your prereqs before going in? Or during that time, did you not have to complete some prereqs?
The prereqs for the master's program I completed prior to acceptance in it. That would be one thing I would suggest to all of you. Find out what the prerequisites are so you can make sure that you are taking them and you don't have to scramble to take them or maybe delay starting grad school because you don't have the prerequisites. But what I did with those first 2 semesters before they received the accreditation was worked on the sports nutrition concentration. So I've been very lucky to get some of the classes to satisfy that concentration done. And then now I'm in the professional practice concentration, but there have been a few semesters where I've just taken 1 extra sports class or I've already taken a class. And so I was able to take a sports class so I can have both concentrations.
Okay.
It's important to work with an advisor on that, Vicki. And for the RDN program, there's actually 8 prerequisite courses. So if you can send me an email afterwards, I'll give you my information. I'd be happy to give you the detail sheets on that if you already have some health science classes. So we only admit to the cohort for the RDN in summertime. So if you're thinking about getting ready for next year, you might want to think about your timing and where all that is. So I'd be happy to work with you about that individually. So Sienna, did you have anything else you wanted to ask?
I have a question. If I were to go to the medical school, DL or MD, at Nova, would I be able to get my master's in nutrition at the same time, or would I have to wait after or take a gap year? I think you muted yourself.
Thank you. That's a really good question. You could probably even begin your graduate degree. You can take up to 6 years in our program. We have a very flexible format. So if you wanted just the straight master's degree, which is now 30 credits, you could actually begin your application as you're ending up. I'm not sure exactly where your timing is going straight into medical school, but we work with our students in the DO program. As I mentioned, we have a few, so they typically get into medical school for the first couple of semesters and get situated, and then they apply to our program. So they kind of take it what we call concurrently. And as another option, if you're, because getting into medical school is a little tough, and sometimes students will apply and not get it the first year. So definitely working with a master's degree will elevate your your science credits and actually distinguish yourself with having obtained a graduate degree while you're making your application more competitive for medical school. So, think about that as well. So you could do both.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So there's my contact information. If you guys have any additional questions or follow-up, I don't know if there's anybody else that I saw. Vicki dropped off the call. Gabriella, do you have any questions, or shall we just wrap it up, Mr. Emilio, and say